Stand by. The program will begin soon.
Breaking: New York's highest court denies Trump's motion to stop his sentencing in Manhattan tomorrow with Stormy Daniels' campaign cover-up criminal case. Trump is getting sentenced tomorrow. This is yesterday, and will officially be a convicted felon forever. Forever? Forever, ever? Because, and I asked that question why. Why do I ask that question? He'll be a convicted felon forever. Except that if the conviction is overturned in the appeals process, you are no longer and never were a convicted felon. If your conviction is overturned in the appeals process, you are no longer and never were a felon. So, is there a labor shortage? Ultimately, the entire need for H-1B workers is predicated on a supposed domestic worker shortage. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the current native-born American labor force participation is around 63%. Meanwhile, the foreign-born labor force participation is a stunning 68%. Importantly, per the Wall Street Journal, census data show immigrants who arrived since the start of 2020 are more than twice as likely to lack a high school diploma as months. He beat not one but two Democratic opponents, swept all 7 swing states, and became the first Republican to win the popular vote in 20 years. He has realigned American politics, remaking the GOP and leaving the Democrats reckoning with what went awry. I'll tell you what went awry. They suck! Okay.
That since 1977, Congress has only passed the budget on time 4 times. The last time Congress passed a balanced budget was in 2001.
That was the
Did you know
Congress?
That over the last 6 years, Congress hasn't passed an appropriations bill on time once? In fact, we have had 17 continuing resolutions in the last 6 years.
6 years.
And since Biden has taken office, we have had over 11 omnibuses pushed through. Congress has only passed a balanced budget 4 times ever, meaning we didn't have a surplus or a deficit.
The mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams. And we're on cable news getting 1 to 2 million. And so there's
not on CNN.
the whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that.
Stand by. The program will begin soon.
That was Friday Q&A, and let's. The first question today is from our friend Avocado Diablo, who says, have you ever woke up half naked except for a pair of lace panties, a Foot Locker's employee's ref jersey, and a Pirate's eye patch stuck in the slide of a children's playground? AD? I'm becoming concerned. I'm becoming concerned. I would love to hear that story, though. Just out of curiosity, I don't know if I really want to hear that story, but no, I haven't. I'm very discouraged to see many influencers turning on some of our biggest fighters in Congress. Instead of going after the 38 stand on principle and not raising the debt ceiling, but also didn't support the continuing resolution, why are they going after people like Republican Congressman Greg Murphy, North Carolina 3, who was for the original continuing resolution? Or why not just go after the Democrats who are responsible for this entire mess? Why eat our own strong conservatives, especially over something like the debt ceiling, when no one really wants it raised in the long run? Even if the 38 had voted yes on the American Relief Act, it still wouldn't have passed. So what is the end goal here? To get rid of strong conservatives because we don't 100% agree on them?
Stand by. The program will begin soon.
House report recommends FBI investigation into Liz Cheney of alleged witness tampering while on the J6 committee. So there's this seems to be blowing up in Liz Cheney's face as opposed to getting shot with birdshot by her dad. Here's another one. Taxpayers fund a misinformation index, but the real fake news is that it's useful. The Department of State wasted $330,000 to fund censorship of non-liberal and conservative media. Historically, the largest purveyor of disinformation is the U.S. government, without question. And now, once again, the government has decided to position itself as the ultimate judge of what is true and what is not. There exists an animal whose shit is actually super delicious. Oh my God. It would have to be some sort of seafood. Advocates to Albany, what would you consider to be the most disconcerting about one could see in the toilet after you got done going to the bathroom? Only things that come from inside you count. Well, I think a 14-foot tapeworm would be kind of disconcerting. You're like, what the heck? Oh, that was inside of me? Okay. Lord Stanham asks, which member of Congress would you like to catch leprosy? You can name as many as you'd like. Let me just start with Jamie Raskin. And Adam Schiff. That's enough. This is lightning. Abkhaz Diaby says, why is it that Nancy Mace is the only woman in Congress that does not sound like one of the teachers from Peanuts to me when she speaks? Maybe it's because she's from the South, although her accent is not that pronounced. Sound Nation, is this the penultimate? Is this the last question? No, it's not. Lord Stanhope, will you have a Merry Christmas? Melancholy. We already explained that earlier. Select a boy who on The Simpsons has a plan that's good on paper but horrible in execution. Oh, obviously Homer. How many of you remember the name Crystal Magnum? Crystal Magnum. Does that name ring a bell? Anybody? Crystal Magnum. Now, even if you don't know that name, you know. It sounds like a stripper name, doesn't it? Crystal Magnum? That sounds like a stripper name or a porn star or something like that, right? Well, here's an update in the story of Crystal Magnum. Congress members haven't even received the text yet. The deadline is Friday. This is utter insanity. That is... I don't know if that could be any less accurate or more accurate. I don't know. Congress last passed a real budget in 1997. Since then, Congress has typically relied on continuing resolutions or omnibus spending bills to fund the government. There should be 12 different funding bills, I guess, normally, and they're doing an omnibus bill and then just put it all on paper the last minute and then just pass it because they want to go home for Christmas. Well, F that shit. So people are saying shut it down. They've typically relied on continuing resolutions or omnibus spending bills to fund the government rather than completing the full budget process as intended by the 1974 Congressional Budget.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. 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 What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
Here I am, the one that you love. Broadcasting for another day. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. Welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel, where, sometimes you got to get a little good gotcha question in, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we were going to talk a little bit about the confirmation hearings yesterday in the United States Senate. Or was it the Senate committee or the entire Senate? It must have been the Senate committee. I don't know what it was. It's what we expected, and we didn't really learn anything. I mean, in fact, I'm going to do something today that I wasn't. Let's just say that, let's say 2-3 years ago, I would have never done. Because the chains have been removed from Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo, of all people, made the most sense in all the commentary I've been hearing about the Pete Hegseth confirmation hearings. Chris Cuomo, of all people, made the most damn sense. And I was like, oh, holy shit. Chris Cuomo's right. It hurt to say it, but he's been a little more sensible lately. I don't know what to call it. He's been different since he broke the chains of CNN. But anyway, before I get to that, obviously there's a lot of other things to talk about. We'll get to some trending topics. We'll get some just news topics. I know there was a big launch this morning. I see Gunfox has mentioned SpaceX. Also, SpaceX launched a couple things going on over the last couple of days, and they got a new launch coming today, the Super Heavy going up. We talked about that too. So yeah, we'll get into all that. But first, of course, I need to say hello. Is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your smile. I thought it was funny. Remember back when what's her name? What's the redheaded English chick used to be fat and she got all skinny and people got pissed off because she got Adele. Remember when Adele came out with her song Hello, and it was a completely different song than Lionel Richie's song, but then Lionel Richie tried to sue Adele for the song, which wasn't anything like his song. And then he backed off because, he knew he was being a dumbass. But anyway, what made me think of that? Just the fact that I sang that song. Because I don't know the Adele song as well. I know it starts out, hello. How are you? No, that's a different song. What's the song? Hello. How are you? That's ELO, right? Electric Light Orchestra. There's a bunch of songs that start with the word hello. Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. First in the chat today, of course, is Mr. Avocados Diabli back on top. Yeah, baby. Good morning, sir. Also, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg. By the way, AD, was that sufficient? I even got your theme song. Mike Savage, Blarg, Carrot Soldiers in the house, Gunfox, the amazing administrator of the Dawg Knight Discord server, which I got to catch up on. I haven't gotten caught up in there in the last few days. Also going to Resolute Germ, Vader 35. What's up, Vader? Tyler F's in the house. Welcome back. Mr. Tire, Alexander, the Scourge is here. Good morning. Also, Lord Stanhope, what's up? Attack Alpaca, Rodline, coming a little more regularly. That's awesome. Also, on the honorable mention of favorite Canadians, Mr. Special K on Acid, Robert Banks, what up, Banks? How you doing? And I skip anybody. Not a whole lot of people here yet, but sometimes it takes some time for people to get them notifications and roll in. It's just, and plus I'm not, I don't know, maybe I'm just not YouTube friendly or something. YouTube doesn't like sending out my notifications either. I mean, you figure if you have 2,500 followers, which I think I'm around there, and that's not very many for any YouTuber. That's pittance. But you'd think that you would think that some of my stuff would get more than 30, 40, 50, 100 views or whatever. But it is what it is. I don't know what to do about it. I think that I know that from the very beginning I was I agreed with James Damore, and I did a video about James Damore talking about distributions across employment, across careers, and how it's not that women are being discriminated. It's just that women choose different things, and that's a very very easily explainable reason for the so-called pay gap, right? And I remember that video. It got taken down at first, and I had to appeal it because I didn't say anything wrong, and I didn't say anything. I wasn't disparaging to anybody or whatever, but that was such a big controversy, and I feel like I've been squelched ever since. Oh, it could have been Todd Rundgren. Yeah, Todd Rundgren had a Hello song too, didn't he? But that wasn't that one. It was ELO that did that one. It's Hello, how are you? Like maybe it might have been called. What was the name of that song? You Loved Me? You Love Me? What's there? It was an ELO song that I was thinking of. Anyway, getting into the music stuff. So anyway, welcome to the show. Let's get this started going because there's a lot to go on. By the way, thanks to all the people who have done the okay, Willie, you missed the Lionel Richie part. Telephone Line. That's the song I was thinking of. Telephone Line. Hello, telephone line. Give me some time or something in my life. That song. That's the song I was thinking of. Yeah, Willie, yeah, Hello, that's the Lionel Richie one. There's an Adele one, and I think there is a Todd Rundgren one that starts out Hello. But anyway, look, it's a word. You can't copyright a word. And so when Lionel Richie, wait, this is me. Is that you? I don't know. You can't copyright a single word because, lots of songs could start with hello. All right. It's a compliment I can work while listening to you. Oh, well, very good. All right. By the way, good morning, Willie. How you doing? Hello, Mr. Telephone Man. There's something wrong with my line. I don't know who that one is. New Edition. Wait, what? Oh, Mr. Telephone Man, there's something wrong with my line. And call my baby's number, get something. A click every time, Mr. Telephone Man. Yeah, that was another one. Okay, let's just spend the day talking about hello songs. I think we should. We should do that one day. Just have a music day, because usually if you name a song that is from anywhere from the 70s to roughly 2000, I can usually either sing it or tell you who sang it or something like that. Back in the 90s, VH1 had a show called Rock and Roll Jeopardy. And who's the guy that Mark, whatever, the dude from what's his name? He's the lead singer of Sugar Ray. And he killed on that show. And I would watch that a lot because I was big into music trivia. And I would have kicked his hind parts. I knew every answer on that show for some reason. I spent way too much time listening to music and watching MTV when I was a kid. I mean, MTV came out my senior year in high school, was the summer after, summer before, one of the two. I was in my friend Brad's basement, and we were waiting for it to come on because they'd been hyping it for months. And finally, that first show when Video Killed the Radio Star was the first song on there, and then Pat Benatar was the second song on there. And it just was we're enthralled by it. And I just became really, I was an MTV addict. So, and then just the fact that I listened to AM radio my entire life as a kid and listened to FM radio as I got older, and just constantly listened to music, I knew just about everything, as far as music trivia. So yeah, I take songs starting with Hello for $600. I would have been great on that show. And again, I would have crushed the best player on that show, which was the guy, what is his name? The lead singer from Sugar Ray. Anyone remember that? Now see, I say I'm such a great at this trivia and then I can't remember his name. It was Mark something. Anyway, let's get into some news. By the way, I meant to put this article up here too. About the Associated Press. Let me put this Associated Press article up here too, because this is almost funny to me. We'll put it right over here past core CPI. There we go. All right, let's get into the trending topics real quick. Mark McGrath. Yes, Lord Stand-Up. Mark McGrath. That's his name. He was the lead singer of Sugar Ray. All right. Today is obviously Hump Day, and so there you go. There's a happy Hump Day for you. I also got a happy Hump Day one here. They changed it. Good morning, happy Hump Day to all who celebrate. Only 56 hours to go until we can put on the weekend Lederhosen. Sound up. Do I want to put this up here? Oh, good Lord. What is this? Let's see. Oh, it's a German version of YMCA. I'm not playing that. I'll put it in the links, though, if you want to see it yourself. Here, copy link, open a window, and there you go. If you want to hear that song in German, that's up to you. So anyway, here we go. If you're feeling cute, I might post something controversial later. I don't know. Don't know what that means. Anyway, happy Hump Day. Enough about that. Moving on. There's the German version of YMCA. Core CPI came out today. Hello, Reaccion Puerto Rico. Now we're coming up with different marks. Okay, Mark Douchebag, Mark McGrath, Mark Ray. Well, Mark Bolden, no. Mark Clark, no. Marcus Aurelius, no. Marky Mark. It's such a good vibration. Good Lord. All right, core CPI came out, and it came out around what was expected, 3.3% core CPI year after year for decades, charted just below, higher than the 3.75 year to year for the last 50 years, remains an enormous burden on American households because we still haven't had any of those. That 9% it went up that one time has never come down, so the cumulative is still pretty high. Because you're still comparing it to the years where it's worse. But anyway, so breaking December CPI inflation raises 2.9%, in line with expectations of 2.9. Core CPI inflation falls to 3.2%, below expectations of 3.3%. Headline CPI inflation is up for 3 straight months, but core inflation is falling again. A mixed bag for the Fed, and so we'll see what happens. They're probably not going to change rates anytime soon. Also, speaking of economic news, and I don't know if this is necessarily economic news, but I saw this article this morning. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, is suing Elon Musk, saying that he didn't disclose Twitter ownership on time before buying it, meaning that not that he didn't already own it, meaning he owned a significant number of shares of Twitter. And so here's the article, and this is funny to me because some people reacting to it. Oh my God, Elon Musk is a criminal. He's probably going to go to jail. They're going to take Twitter away from him and finally will wrest control of Twitter from Elon Musk. No, that's not what's happening, dummies. Here's the article. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has sued billionaire Elon Musk, saying he failed to disclose his ownership of Twitter stock in a timely manner in early 2022 before buying the social media site. As a result, the SEC alleges Musk was able to underpay by at least $150 million for shares he bought after he should have disclosed his ownership of more than 5% of Twitter shares. Musk bought Twitter in October 2022 and later renamed it X. Now, what I found hilarious about this, because there's people, I wish I had the tweet still. What do I do with the tweet? Let's see, maybe I can find it here. Let me find the tweet real quick, because the way it was presented on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. Okay. Oh shoot, did I not save that? Oh, of course I didn't. That's brilliant. Here, let's go into my notifications, because I know it's in there. People have replied to it. Here we go. So, oh shoot, no, it's not. Anyway, what I wanted to laugh about this. So the SEC claims, the claim here is that he filed the fact that he owned part of Twitter. He filed it 11 days late. And so he may have paid, according to the article, underpay. Now, and what is underpay when you're buying a company? That he was able to underpay by at least $150 million for shares he bought after he should have disclosed his ownership. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Do y'all remember how much he paid for Twitter? Do you know how much he paid for Twitter? Do you remember? $44 billion. 44 billion with a B dollars, right? And so the SEC is alleging that he was able to underpay by $150 million. So 0.34% of what he paid for it. Less than 0.5% of what he paid for it is what he would have saved. It is so ridiculous. And look, it's filing this 5 days before the inauguration of President Trump. There's only one reason they did this: to smear Elon Musk. Because they don't give a shit. They really don't. 0.34%. So the article in the AP here, Musk started amassing Twitter shares in early 2022, and by March of that year, he owned more than 5%. At this point, the complaint says he was required by law to disclose his ownership, but he failed to do so until April 4th, a great day in history, my birthday, 11 days after the report was due. So they're suing him for basically what would amount to administrative fine. This is not a criminal case. It's a regulator fine. Musk lawyer Alex Spiro said in a statement that the lawsuit is an admission by the SEC that they cannot bring an actual case since Musk has done nothing wrong. He called the lawsuit a sham. Yes. Oops. There we go. As the SEC retreats and leaves office, sorry, that didn't popped up. The SEC's multi-year campaign of harassment against Mr. Musk culminated in the filing of a single-count ticky-tack complaint against Mr. Musk under Section 13D for an alleged administrative failure to file a single form, an offense that, even if proven, carries a nominal penalty. Nope, this is just some shit they want to do on the way out the door of the Trump administration. And it's almost embarrassing because the guy, I can't even remember the name of the head of the SEC right now, but he's gone after this week. He's done. Okay. After Mr. Bush signed the deal to acquire. Oh, and also the other funny thing about this, he was forced to buy it. He tried to back out of the deal, but they sued to force him to buy it. So he says, all right, okay, I'll buy it. And now the SEC is going after. Now, the current SEC's chair, Gary Gensler, plans to step down from his post on January 20th, and it's not clear if the new administration will continue the lawsuit. Well, here's the thing that's going to happen, and I guarantee you this. I can guarantee this. Because the Democrats, lefties be all over this, complaining, oh, it must broke the law, blah, 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 right? An administrative fee, max, is going to happen. That's the remedy of this. A small administrative fee comparative to the $44 million that he paid for it. But here's what they're going to do. And I'm waiting for it. Okay? The new SEC board or chairman or whatever is going to come in there and they're going to say, this is stupid. We're going to drop it. And then Democrats will be talking about, see, this is a criminal administration that supposedly no one's above the law, but they're just not above the law. Blah, 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 blah. That's what's going to happen. And it's hilarious. It's so, and in fact, let's see. The SEC said that starting April 22, it authorized an investigation into whether any securities laws were broken in connection with Musk's purchase of Twitter stock and his statements and SEC filings related to the company. Before it filed the lawsuit, the SEC went to court in an attempt to compel Musk to testify as part of an investigation into his purchase of Twitter. So, I mean, look, is anyone in the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is anybody there investigating anyone in the United States Congress or the United States Senate over some of their insider trading purchases? The incredible returns that people who are members of our national legislature make on their investments because, no, maybe it's just a coincidence they're all amazing traders. With a D, not a T. So, it's just insane. It is just insane. Good morning, Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadian. He has that much money lying in his couch. Well, no. Yeah, that's what they think. He's got the biggest couch, and he's like Scrooge McDuck. He has the vault. He goes swimming in money. It's amazing what they're doing. And it's so obvious that they're just full of shit. It really is. It's just so obvious. So it's funny to me that they are filing this lawsuit. Let's move on. TikTok is trending again. People still talking about, and unfortunately, Libs of TikTok is it keeps popping up ahead of this, so I can't even talk about TikTok. Let's see if there's the latest here. What's the latest on TikTok? Oh, be careful. Gotta worry. Oh, by the way, here's what's funny about TikTok. I remember now. So anyway, today the internet will be interneting. People on TikTok thought Red Note's CEO had posted a message welcoming them to the platform, but it was actually just from a guy called Jerry who uses Red Note and lives in Vancouver. Oh my God! So all these people on TikTok concerned that TikTok America, United States, will be shutting down on the 19th, the day before Inauguration Day, which is interesting. They would do that the day before Inauguration Day because I don't think Donald Trump is necessarily on board for dumping TikTok. But anyway, again, so this guy, this is just some guy from Vancouver who told them that Red Note was welcoming all these TikTok people, right? So you got all these people going from TikTok and downloading Red Note. It's like one of the top downloaded apps over the last month, right? With the pending TikTok demise. Well, some of these people selecting Red Note and downloading it are having a surprise as they join the platform. First of all, this is funny because me selecting allow in Red Note asks if I will allow them to track my data. Hell no, sorry. But anyway, here's the irony, and this is from Reddit Lies. If Red Note, here it is. What content is allowed on Red Note? TikTok refugees have already noted harsh restrictions on Red Note that have resulted in their content being removed or their accounts being suspended, including for mentioning LGBTQ plus identities or for women wearing a slightly low-cut top. Red Note is Chinese-based. They don't play that. Was I going to say that out loud? They don't play that gay shit. And I'm not disparaging my gay friends. I'm just saying, when I'm talking about, well, anyway, the LGBTQI, the ideology shit, they don't play that. And so lots of people are finding out liberals are flocking to Red Note, an app controlled by China to replace TikTok. Turns out they ban LGBTQ content, all inappropriate outfits, and they only allow for 2 genders. So people are just having a good chuckle about that. Okay, Americans flocking to Red Note, a Chinese app out of spite and revenge, is the funniest shit I've seen in the last 10 years. Zuckerberg and Musk thought they won. People gonna learn Mandarin out of spite. Yeah, and you thought you won. Like you're gonna have all your all that shit on Red Note. So it's hilarious. On TikTok, it's mostly Americans interacting with other Americans, but on Red Note, Americans are interacting with Chinese in China. People are realizing the Chinese are just as unserious as us. Oh, really? Okay. What's this one? So anyway, that's the scoop. They don't allow LGBTQI a LMNOP plus minus 3.24 content. So anyway, good morning, Ms. Wild Wolf. How you doing? Mirrors, how you doing? There's talk that Musk is looking into buying it, from what I understand, and have read Red Note is more dangerous than TikTok. Oh, absolutely. They literally, they have no qualms about. They first of all, they say if you post on Red Note, they own your content, they own your likeness, and they're gonna steal all your fucking data. It is absolutely more dangerous. But they literally, if you post a redneck, they own your likeness. So they can take, if you put something on there, they can take it and do whatever they want to with it. That wasn't a glitch. That was just me glitching like Joe Biden, you know.
Come on, man.
Anyway, all right. So enough about Red Note. Moving on. Carrie is still trending, Carrie Underwood. And I guess there's no real good reason to post about Carrie Underwood, other than that she's still going to be singing the America the Beautiful at the inauguration. But you know, it's what do you call it? Nightmare fuel for avocados diabli. There you go. Y'all dragging Carrie Underwood for performing on Donald Trump's inauguration, funded by billionaires and corporations. Beyonce, Lizzo, and Cardi B took millions to perform at campaign events for Kamala Harris, funded by small donations by everyday people. The hypocrisy is loud. Okay, no, that's funny that she said that they said funded by small donations for everyday people. Oh, because they took these donations and then they used it to pay billionaires and millionaires. So anyway, good for them. All right, so whatever. Good for her. Good morning, Gay for Rolf. I have the hardest time to do that. I forgot Carrie Underwood existed. Oh no! If you watch Monday Night Football, she's the one who sings the "I wait all day for Monday night" or something like that. She's the or the Sunday night. I don't know. She's the She sings the NFL football song on Sunday night or Monday night. I can't remember which one. Oh no, Monday night is Snoop. Sunday night is the I wait all day for Sunday night. That song, you know what I mean? That's Carrie Underwood. It used to be the other country chick, but they switched to Carrie Underwood. Anyway, and she's still very, very popular in country music. Moving on. Let's see. I already talked about Red Note. Wait, how did that get out of order? Because I put Red Note on here twice. I don't need Red Note again. Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman, and Nancy Mace. If you haven't seen it, we'll show the exchange. Apparently, she and Nancy Mace had a little dust up, and it's the only reason I'm playing it. It's because it's damn funny. This is what is going on in the United States Congress. Here we go. Jasmine Crockett, Nancy Mace. Here we go.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, so that people.
Here's what's funny. Jasmine Crockett has been a legislator in the state of Texas for a while. And she's been, out in public eye for a while. And all of a sudden, she's decided that she's going to talk vernacular as opposed to just talk. Because usually, if you look at some of her old stuff from the state of Texas, there's some video out there, right? And she sounded like a Valley girl when she was a legislator in Texas. But all of a sudden, now that she's in Congress, she's all talking vernacular and shit. And it's kind of funny. I don't know why she decided to go all code switch while in Congress, but maybe because it gets her more attention. But anyway,
are struggling right now, so she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen. I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not.
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
have.
I am reclaiming my time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a
Chairman,
child.
I am reclaiming my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman and committee.
So now they start fights in Congress. Girl fight! Girl fight! Yeah! Girl fight! Ready? What the hell's going on in the United States Congress? They're tripping. That's all. That's all I wanted to talk about that. Hello. Again, Gaffer Wolf. I have such a hard time with that. I don't know why. Anyway, by the way, there's 26 people, only 9 likes. Hit the damn like button right now, please, before you forget. It should be at least a 19 to 20 ratio of likes to people here. Just hit the damn like button. All right. Back to the things trending. That was the last thing. Let's talk about the Pete Hegseth hearings, because they were interesting too. And the first look, I told you earlier that I agree with Chris Cuomo. So I think we're going to start. Where is it? Let's see. Here we go, right here. Because everything that Chris Cuomo says about this hearing. Oh, this is 10 minutes of it. I wanted the clip. Well, here, let's see if I think it's all just the part I wanted you to see is at the beginning. And everything he says about these hearings, I agree with. I think, mostly. Because I don't think these are serious hearings. At least not Pete Hegseth's. Nobody asked him important questions, and including the Republicans for the most part. But there were some. Look, let me emphasize something real quick. Because there's been a whole lot of talk about whether or not Pete Hegseth has the qualifications to be the Secretary of Defense. He's never, run anything with a $900 million budget, as if anyone has, other than maybe, CEOs of the biggest companies in the world, and they all have accountants to do that bullshit, just like the Pentagon. By the way, it seems as though nobody has the qualifications to run an agency with $900 million budget, because they haven't passed an audit they failed audits the last 7 times they've had an audit. So apparently nobody can run that. But let's go back to the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense. People seem to think that the Secretary of Defense is someone who orders wars and this and that and has to, monitors troop movements and all this stuff, right? No. That's what the generals, the Joint Chiefs of Staff do. The Secretary of Defense is a civilian position dealing with defense policy at the leisure of the President of the United States. The Secretary of Defense doesn't order anybody to do anything other than be a policy monitor for the most part. The President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief. The President is the person who is the ultimate general, so to speak. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, the County Department, whatever, everything else does all the work. The Secretary of Defense is about policy. So the qualification is you must be a citizen of the United States. You don't have to have military experience. In fact, you wouldn't be the first. Well, he does have military experience, and he has a degree and an advanced degree from Harvard and Princeton. It's not like he's a dummy. It's not like he came off the street. The big knock on him, he's a Fox News host. Well, so what? He's also 20 years military experience, been deployed twice, and has degrees from Princeton and Harvard. This is not like he doesn't know anything about what he's doing. And he's been a civilian for the correct amount of time, supposedly 7 years, or you have to get a waiver to be part of the as a Secretary of Defense. Yes, they chairs of the Joint Chiefs Command, correct. So the Secretary of Defense is the principal to the President, superintendent, and the general's teachers. Yeah, kind of that way. So it's not like he's single-handedly going to write out the budget for the Department of Defense, but he certainly can have influence on how the Defense Department needs to figure out what's wrong with this audit problem. But anyway, so on that note, then let's go to Chris Cuomo, because I think his commentary on this was very good as far as these hearings, and then we'll get into some of the stuff that happened at the hearings. So let's start with Chris Cuomo here.
My opinion is we saw the enemy today at Pete Hegseth's Armed Services Committee hearing, and it's us. Not you, but the toxic game of division played by the people who we put in power. Let me ask you, what questions would you have for a potential Secretary of Defense? What are you going to do about China, Russia, terror, Pentagon size, drones? Or would your top...
Now and again, the Secretary of Defense is serving under the President of the United States. So it's all about policy on all of those things. And he's right. No one's asked. Did anyone ask him about any of that stuff? I'm going to guess they didn't.
Concern be his marriage. Is your biggest fear that an army of trans folk are going to take over? Because those were the concerns that the most deliberative body in the world focused on today.
And people ask him about trans policy. That is a policy question, but it was the most important policy question that they were coming up with. Probably not. It's certainly not, but it's super important to some people.
Here is the moment that Democrats are choosing to send around the internet as their big win. Senator Tim Kaine giving Hegseth the Bill Clinton.
I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged. Fully investigated and completely cleared.
So you think you are completely cleared because you committed no crime? That's your definition of cleared?
What is this, again, and what does this have to do with being Secretary of Defense? The purpose of this is they want to smear him, just like they like to smear Trump, whatever. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on that since then, because that really, this has no bearing on whether or not he's Secretary of Defense. If you can find, unless, of course, every single member of the Senate has never had any issues like this, which we know that many of them have issues. We'll get to that.
Fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
So because of his marriage, he can't be trusted with the oath of office?
Yeah, again, and this is a 20-year military veteran, too.
2 points of disgust. How many people on that committee, how many in Congress could pass the Kaine test?
Look, Tim Kaine was a huge supporter of William Jefferson Clinton. Tim Kaine came to the defense of William Jefferson Clinton. So sometimes, Tim Kaine, you might have to shut the fuck up.
That you can't honor an oath to serve if you've ever been unfaithful. Kaine may be sitting in that room alone. Who cares when we are talking about being the top warrior, not our pastor? I'll tell you.
Oh, that's a good line. He's not running for the Pope. That's John Fetterman. Who wants to be the Pope of, what did he want to be the Pope of? The Pope of Greenland? Yeah, Greenland.
Who agreed with me once about this? Tim Kaine. He supported Bill Clinton
Ding.
for president. He didn't say he couldn't serve, despite all he knew about his peccadillos. He still backed him. Why? Is president not as important?
Because there's a D in front of his name. And a D in front of Monica. Sorry.
So what changed? You know, a bipartisan National Security Commission found we are not ready for war with China
and
or
Russia. And why is that? We have a recruiting problem.
They suggested our technology and our inventory are a question mark.
Yeah, because we keep giving it to fucking Ukraine.
Men across the armed services, weak. Cyber attacks, crushing us. Increasingly. Trump hinting he wants to pull out of Syria and other areas in the region. All these big things flying around, including over military bases.
And you're talking about...
No one can explain it.
20-year-old
picadillos. This guy, who has never led anything like a federal agency, is up for a job over the biggest war machine in the world that is one of the largest employers in the federal government. And Tim Kaine wants to talk to him to exhaustion about his marriage. None of the things that I just mentioned in any depth.
Ding.
That matters more than what he's going to do with half the money America lays out in discretionary spending? And even when the Democrats were on a legitimate issue like encouraging women to enlist, and Hegseth had said they should not be in certain combat roles, seems to have shifted now. But the Democrats still couldn't get past the gotcha and kept asking the same gotcha.
You said, and I quote, "I'm straight up saying that we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective."
When I'm talking about...
His answer is going to be about standards, and I'm sure that's what he meant. And look, they should have never changed the standards for women to be in combat roles. If there are women who can pass the same standards they had for the men in combat roles, you got some big burly women that could do it, speed and strength and agility and endurance, then they can be in combat roles. But that would narrow the field greatly. And that's not talking about as pilots or whatever, or intelligence or whatever. that they can be in those roles, but the actual grunt infantry ground troop roles, there's reasons why you don't want them in the field. There's reasons why you don't want medicated trans people in the field. There's reason why you don't want people with club feet in the field. Doesn't mean they can't be in other roles. That's all he said. But let's take this back a little bit. Listen, let's go back through this.
Not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective.
When I'm talking about that issue, it's not about the capabilities of men and women, it's about standard.
We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry.
Kirsten Gillibrand.
Lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them.
My critiques, Senator, recently and in the past, and from personal experience. Instances where I've seen standards lowered, driven decision making.
I'm quoting you from the podcast. Women shouldn't be in combat at all. Where's the reference to standards that they should be there if they can carry, if they can run? I don't see that at all, Mr. Hegseth.
Look, there is a real issue here, okay?
Yeah, whole hundreds. When Kirsten Gillibrand said there are hundreds of women out of, 3 million, 2 million in the military? Okay, great. And if there are, look, like I said, you bring back the old standards, and if women can perform at those standards, fine. Put them in the infantry, put them in combat roles. But it doesn't always work out that well.
Best an open question that we're stronger.
Look, if they can run, I don't see that at all, Mr. Hegseth.
Look, there is a real issue here.
There is.
It's at best an open question.
And the fact that they won't acknowledge that there is an issue, it is the pure stupidity. It's like saying that, and I for example, I was listening to a thread on, reading a thread on Threads or whatever, talking about how Asia Wilson could play in the NBA or Caitlin Clark could play in the NBA. Not a chance. Not a chance. That wouldn't last 5 minutes. They were saying that Asia Wilson might be able to beat some NBA players one-on-one. Asia Wilson's a 6'4" center in the WNBA. The average guard in the NBA is 6'4", 6'5". And faster, stronger, better shooters. The whole works. It has nothing to do with disparaging women. It has everything to do with the different physiology of men and women. Women make great pilots. I'm fine if you got a woman who can fly a fighter jet, although the reaction time of men are still faster. Or chopper pilots, transport pilots. And intelligence, there are some advantages women have in the intelligence areas. So I don't care if women are in the military, but certain roles are not suited for most women. There might be a rare few exceptions. So anyway, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for all my military personnel, but if someone cannot carry out a man or a woman out of the danger zone, they should not be on the line. Exactly. I mean, there are men who shouldn't be in infantry either. I mean, women do not make good fighter pilots. Do they not? Okay, they may not. Women fighter pilots have crashed our shit multiple times. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, if there are capable pilots, I'm not saying that in general they are, but if there are capable pilots, transport pilots, whatever. There's a lot of other roles in the military that have nothing to do with being the combat infantry person. And that's what it's like these senators who are bitching about that are like he's not saying there should not be women in the military, period. Anyway.
Question that we're stronger if women stop serving in combat roles. Studies have shown women serve a critical role on the battlefield in intelligence gathering that men can't do. And I've watched women step up in combat situations.
Have you, Chris?
I could never.
Were you in combat? How do you know that? What do you? Okay, I'm curious what he means there. But anyway.
That's not what the Democrats were really after. It was a play to division, that Trumpers are misogynists, And what burns is that there is a real issue here with recruitment, and we never talk about it. And it's not about gender, it's about pay. Over 22,000 active duty troops in 2019 were on food stamps. Did you know that? That means thousands of military members of families are literally living in poverty while...
Sort of. So again, at 22,000 out of what? It might be 1.5 million active military people. And we don't know why that is. If they're in the military and they have families, they might qualify for food stamps. Like it used to be, it's funny because when I was in college, every college student could be eligible for food stamps because they base that on your income. I'm not sure why there's 22,000 active duty troops who use food stamps, but a lot of it may be due to how they make you eligible for food stamps, maybe family size or whatever. So I'm not sure why that is, but it is a good question to ask. It's a good question to figure out.
Loved ones are serving. And that they don't want to worry about. That's not a threat. His marriage, gender gotchas, that's what matters. Look, here's the worst part. The right did not take the opportunity for high ground that the left gave them.
And this is true, too.
An opportunity
some did, though. We'll get to a couple who did.
National defense. Most of them seem to think, on the right, that the biggest threat to America is DEI. They're vetting a Secretary of Defense. And their concern isn't why we were found to be unprepared for war with our major enemies, or again, why we can't identify what's flying all over the place.
Is part of it military policy, though, where we stopped what we were doing to have training on extremism. Like they stopped, literally, they stopped training. Lloyd Austin stopped all training in the military to have everyone in the military talk about extremism, have training on extremism. And then they found that there was maybe a dozen people they had to be concerned about in the entire United States military. But they stopped everything they were doing for that. So, Chris, you're on, but you're not 100% on here.
Including over military bases that Hegseth would have to control, or what happens if Trump wants to pull out of Syria, and whether ISIS will take that as an open invitation to expand. Instead, they made it about the war they really care about most. Not war with Russia, not with China or Iran or ISIS, or the cyber war we're clearly losing, but the culture war. The senator's most pressing concern for the Pentagon, judging by many of the questions.
Many? Not all.
DEI.
If confirmed and you issue an order saying we are going to rip the Biden woke yoke off the neck of our military and focus on lethality and warfighting, how do you think the troops will react?
Now, that question wasn't about necessarily DEI. A lot of that is about rules of engagement, about, worrying about, I don't want to say inclusivity, but the whole, let's just, like the generals wearing dog masks. Why are we even letting that happen? Why are we allowing a general in the United States military to take photos of themselves in uniforms wearing dog masks? That really is a morale buster for 90% of the troops who are like, what the fuck is that? Or the military people allowed to use their uniform when they decide to do some drag shit? Or having male generals wearing dresses. Guess what? Your rank and file military person looks at that and goes, why the fuck am I here with this crazy shit? So, again, if we're talking about readiness and be able to recruit and looking at what you're getting into, people who are interested in breaking shit and killing people when they have to, they're like, that ain't it. I ain't doing that shit. I'm not going anywhere near. I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to have that asshole give me an order. Anyway.
Senator, I know the troops will rejoice.
They will love it.
They will love it.
DEI is not about giving everybody opportunity. It is rooted in cultural Marxism.
The Department of Defense spent over 5 million man-hours on quote-unquote counter-extremism and diversity training, what you and I might call woke training or DEI.
How many genders are there? Tough one.
This is a dumb one, but it's funny.
Senator, there are 2 genders.
I know that well. I'm a she-he, so I'm on board. How many push-ups can you do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
47 because Trump's the 47th president. Listen, how many push-ups he can do is probably one of the pithiest things that guy asked. How is any of this a priority? He's not running for office. Now, their best hook on DEI was spending $80 million on DEI programs in 2023. You can feel whatever way you want.
Again, in a military that is very diverse, our military is probably the one of the most diverse institutions that we have as far as government goes. And it's also one of the most meritorious institutions that goes, meaning that people who perform are the ones who move up in the ranks. And there's an occasional lost soul here and there, but there's not a big issue with diversity in the United States military. And so unless they're talking, and unless they're saying maybe in the promotion sense, I don't know how it was. I know the fact that, for example, did anyone ever in the past think of Colin Powell as an affirmative action hire or a DEI hire? No, he worked his way up through the ranks and ended up in the the highest, one of the highest generals in the military. It's the military is not the place where you're having a problem with DEI, because a lot of minorities get their start in the military. A lot of squared away minorities, they go there to get their shit together, and they do, and then they come out and are usually productive citizens and do cool shit. Mostly. But anyway.
What about that? It's a big number. Unless you compare it to the overall Pentagon budget of over $800 billion. So their focus is on 0.01% of the Pentagon budget? That's the question?
The only time it's a question is when you stop operations nearly throughout the military to spend time on that. Again, is what Lloyd Austin did early on in the Biden administration, when he basically stopped operations and had everyone go through extremism training. So yeah, you spend it on that, really netted zero results. So there you go.
If the Democrats wanted to show that Hegseth isn't qualified, they failed. And not because of his answers, but because of their questions. And Republicans did Hegseth no favors either by clearly making him a pawn culture warrior.
And I agree with that too, because the Republicans didn't ask a lot of those questions that needed to be asked either, because they did spend probably way too much on the woke shit, right?
Hegseth, fairly appraised, is a massive question mark for this position. And he did not really explain his understanding or philosophy or any sophisticated sense of strategies.
Because no one allowed him to.
That employs more people than just about anything else in the federal government.
But yes, he did. And one of his biggest ones are standards. And in his opening statement, he basically made those statements. So let's move on.
And yet, Hegseth handled himself better today than most of the people questioning him. In a hearing that was about his ability to honor an oath to serve, the Senate committee showed they could not live up to their own oath. The enemy is the inclination that was on ugly and obvious display today. I keep telling you this, and I keep pointing it out, because nothing frightens me and disgusts me more than these two parties and their damnable game of petty division, no matter what else is at stake. They're talking about who is going to protect us at the top of the Pentagon, and these are the things that they thought mattered most. We have to do better.
All right. So, good job, Chris Cuomo. I can't believe I've been praising him more and more lately because he makes sense. So as we get into the hearings, let's start here. Pete Hegseth, this is obviously a right-wing source if someone pops in here. Hello, number one is in the house. Nice to see you. Hegseth comes out swinging against anonymous smears pushed by the mainstream media. Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth came out swinging hard during his confirmation hearing on Tuesday against the orchestrated smear campaign against him pushed by the mainstream media. Quote, a small handful of anonymous sources were allowed to drive a smear campaign and agenda about me because our left-wing media in America today sadly doesn't care about the truth. All they were out to do was destroy me. And why do they want to destroy me? Because I'm a change agent and a threat to them because Donald Trump was willing to choose me to empower me to bring the Defense Department back to what it really should be, which is war fighting, Hegseth said. So I'm willing to endure these attacks, but what I will do is stand up for the truth and for my reputation against false attacks, anonymous attacks, repeated ad nauseum, printed ad nauseum. Hegseth said amid the numerous hit pieces against him based on anonymous sources, people told him they reached out to reporters to defend him, but their quotes were never printed. Meanwhile, he said there has been a statement after statement on the record from those who worked with him and support him. That's men, that's women, that's black, that's white, that's every background. I have prided myself as a leader of respecting people and being professional. So you can probably find his opening statement or the entire hearing online. I also wanted to look at how, like, for example, a not so right-wing source, Huffington Post, saw the hearings. And this is interesting because it doesn't... They seem to do it straight down the middle as far as how they covered this hearing. Pete Hegseth weathers brutal questions on drinking assault claims in Senate hearing. Endures, though. Weathers. That's interesting. Seemed to be fine. Got through it fine. Democrats grilled Trump's defense secretary pick over ugly allegations against him, but barring a last-minute surprise, he appears to be on track to be confirmed. And they start the article like this. Defense Secretary hopeful Pete Hegseth faced intense scrutiny from Democrats in a Tuesday confirmation hearing, fielding questions about allegations of sexual assault, infidelity, showing up to work drunk, and disparaging women's participation in the military. The top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Jack Reed, even told Hegseth at the start of the hearing that he lacked the character and composure and competence to hold the position of Secretary of Defense, to which Hegseth said, fuck off, asshole. No, he didn't say that. I wish he would have, though. I wish he would have said, well, you can fuck right off, bitch. Anyway, he didn't say that, but he should have. Anyway, it was a scathing attack from one of the most mild-mannered lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Well, that's why nobody knows who Jack Reed is. But Hegseth, who previously worked as a weekend host for Fox News, emerged from his 4-hour grilling with nothing but praise from Republicans, and barring any last-minute surprises, he appears to be headed to a smooth confirmation as early as next week. And then they go through some senators saying, yeah, good, blah, blah, blah. And then they go through some other parts, other parts of the hearing, some specific questions. But that is a very fact-based and interesting take by the Huffington Post, which is normally, it has a left-wing bent to it. I thought that was pretty good. So as we get into some of the tweets and stuff, let's go to the articles. One of the things that Hegseth said is that during the hearings was there's no accountability for Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth blasted the Biden administration's disaster Afghanistan withdrawal during its confirmation hearing on Tuesday before the Senate Armed Services Committee. Here's what he said.
There's been no accountability for the disaster of the withdrawal in Afghanistan. And that's precisely why we're here today. Is that leadership has been unwilling to take accountability. It's the time to restore that to our most senior ranks. Okay, so obviously whoever was questioning him at the time didn't like hearing that.
He has pledged to return the Pentagon to its focus on lethality and war fighting, accusing the Biden administration of prioritizing woke social experiments over its mission. He said, "My only special interest is the war fighter," he proclaimed in his opening statement, "deterring wars and, if called upon, winning wars by ensuring our warriors never enter a fair fight. We let them win and bring them home." Hegseth said his priorities as secretary would be restoring the warrior ethos to the Pentagon and throughout our fighting force, rebuilding our military, and reestablishing deterrence. So that was his part of his opening statement. Now, some of the senators that were we're questioning them. We'll go through a couple of these. Elizabeth Warren made an ass of herself. Is that redundant? Anyway, Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth shut down Senator Elizabeth Warren at the end of her questioning, showing that she has no idea who she's questioning. And here is the sample of that.
Now, Mr. Hegseth, you have written that after they retire, generals should be banned from working for the defense industry for 10 years. You and I agree on the corrosive effects of the revolving door between the Pentagon and defense contractors. Okay. It's something I would have liked to talk to you about if you'd come and been willing to visit with me.
I'm going to guess that her staff probably purposely made it extremely difficult to schedule time with Elizabeth Warren. I'm going to guess that because a lot of these nominees will go and talk to various people that ask them to. I mean, we know that because John Fetterman has said that. He's met with several of them. So I'm not sure that Elizabeth Warren made any great effort to meet with Pete Hegseth. Okay, let's get back to this.
I have for you on this is, will you put your money where your mouth is and agree that when you leave this job, you will not work for the defense industry for 10 years?
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about because it's not
about it right now.
It's not one. My motivation for this job.
I understand that. I just need a yes or no here. Time is short. I just need a yes or no.
What is your point there?
I would consult with the president about what the policy should be.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one.
Even she almost had to laugh. Did you catch it? She almost laughed at that. But yeah, he's saying, and part of that is because, and they agree on that because the generals who often are in the approval process for any weapon systems or shit like that, or any defense, purchasing, then go and get these cushy jobs with defense industries. And maybe they shouldn't. And I know they wanted to do some kind of like a 10-year ban or a 10-year moratorium or whatever for generals to go and work in the defense industry. There's a mixed bag there. Would generals have some expertise in those industries? Although maybe the people who operate systems would be more a better choice for the weapons industry. But if you can, I wouldn't say bribe the generals, but if you can let them know that, hey, we're going to do these systems, and if you kind of give us a little step up, we'll get you a nice cushy job in our defense contract company business, whatever. But anyway, yeah.
Let us just be clear. In charge of the generals, so you're saying sauce for the goose, but certainly not sauce for the
He's not a general.
I would want to see what the policy of the president
is. I'll bet you would.
Thank you, Senator Warren.
Yeah, she thought that was the gotcha, and she ended up looking like an idiot. So congratulations, Elizabeth Warren. Also, I'm going to come back to Markwayne Mullins. I want to see Tim Kaine is trending because of what he did. And where is it? Tim Kaine. There it is, Tim Kaine. Senator Tim Kaine was the biggest dick. We saw him talking about, he spent all his time on Pete Hegseth's personal relationships, as we saw in that clip earlier. And then he also brought Hegseth's daughter into it.
Completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? Senator, how is that a complete clear?
Senator, her The child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
And what does this have to do with being Secretary of Defense? Again, I would love to hear Tim Kaine's marital history, or if he's still defending Bill Clinton. Hello, Select Boy and Shrapnel. What's up, Shrapnel?
Those were false charges. Well, no, fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I completely.
Yeah, because he's obviously Tim Kaine's talking about he wants to talk about the charges, but he doesn't, and so then Tim Kaine brings up his child. It's like GFY, Mr. Kaine. But it's funny because some people are posting stuff about, hey, Tim Kaine, me again. This is Jack Posobiec. You wanted to talk about being a good father. Remember when your son joined Antifa and got arrested for attacking police officers at the Minnesota State Capitol? Yeah, his son was arrested in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure they let him go. Also, Tim Kaine has a lot to say about Pete Hegseth's conduct during his marriage. Here's Tim Kaine campaigning with Doug Emhoff, who, while married, impregnated his nanny and forced her to get an abortion. I wish Pete Hegseth would have been prepared for that, because I would have loved him to come back with, didn't you hang out with Doug Emhoff? You know what Doug Emhoff did, right? He impregnated the nanny. At least it was an adult. Well, who knows the nanny was an adult. Must have been an adult because he's not in jail. But anyway, whoa, what happened there? That ain't right. That ain't it. No, stop. I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Let's see. Let's go into a couple more, and then I got to get out of here. I want to go Mark Wayne Mullen. Oh, Mazie Hirono too. Let's see. Well, here's a whole list of senators that had some interesting questions. We just saw Elizabeth Warren. Of course, Kirsten Gillibrand. Remember Kirsten Gillibrand? Remember this weird little thing? Now, this has nothing to do with the Senate hearing, but it does remind us who Kirsten Gillibrand is.
Gay rights, loud and proud.
Do you remember that clip? She's just in a bar on Pride Night drinking, looking like she's by herself, and out of the blue, gay rights, loud and proud. What? Great. Okay. Well, none of the people around you seem to be celebrating you, Senator. So anyway, let's see. We already got the genders one. Here's Mazie. Oh, this is Duckworth. Tammy Duckworth from Wisconsin was also very upset. Now, remember, Duckworth was a helicopter pilot, lost her legs in combat.
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit?
Okay. You don't want me to answer my answer. You want to be able to say yes or no on your question. I always hate it when senators do this on both sides, but you should force them to start with a yes or no and allow them to elaborate if they want to. But it's, because sometimes at these Senate hearings, nominees avoid the question.
Of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
And the way...
And no, because the audit isn't led by the head of the organization. The audit is run by either an outside auditor or the financial officers of the company, not the leader of the organization. Good God.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Yes or no? What are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
She's a little
Senator,
unhinged.
Yes or no?
Part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I will take that as a no. What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors?
Who leads an audit of their own organization? Usually you have an outside company do the audit. What is she talking about? What the fuck is she talking about? You can call for an audit of the Pentagon and have outside organization or whatever do it. What is she talking about?
Because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hexeth.
Well, good. Then why are you expecting him to be an accountant? You're asking whether he's led an audit.
Understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our warfighters.
Right. And the Secretary of Defense is the one who does that. Holy shit. You have a team of people who do that. Some of the questions they asked were kind of ridiculous. And then there's a lot about Elizabeth Warren. I don't want to... Oh, and then here's Mazie Hirono. Hirono, who may be the dumbest senator in the United States Senate.
Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
What does that have? He doesn't drink anymore. What? Who cares?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to the dozens of men and women at Fox News Channel who I work with
I'm not
who came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to
record
my question.
and said
In your
never
opening
seen
statement, Mr. Hicks,
It's like, what kind of a... It's just a stupid fucking question. Just a straight up stupid question. Now, let me go... I'm going to go to Mullen. Because this... And there's two... I want to put these together. Did they use the same clip here? Let's see how long this one is.
There's a lot about qualifications.
Yeah,
I think
this is the one I want to show you. Because, again... I started this show talking about the qualifications for being the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of Defense is a civilian position. It's a civilian. It's not a military position. It's a policy position. The Secretary of Defense main role is policy as directed and under the purview of the President of the United States. Okay? So, she just wants a soundbite, but ended up talking out of her ass. Yes, she did. So here's Marquayne Mullen asking a question, because a lot of these questions regarding Pete Hegseth had to do with the innuendo, the drinking smear, the whole everything, all the innuendo that the Democrats want to talk about. So Marquayne Mullins, I can't even remember where he's from, but he came out swinging.
there's a lot about qualifications. And I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote?
Ouch! Ouch!
Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too. I have changed, but I'm not perfect. But I found somebody that thought I was perfect. And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why. But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So
anyway, there you go. Mullins went off. And I'm curious because I saw a little Chuck the smarmy prick Schumer from the state of New York posted part of that. He posted that too, and he put question marks above it. Like he quote tweeted a video of that particular statement regarding if, about him being here and not in prison. Like what did Mullen do, or what was Mullen's life before he got his shit together? And so a lot of times a good relationship can get you out of a lot of problems. So there you go. Now I have several other articles open regarding this. There's an article in the Federalist here. Pete Hegseth makes a definitive case why he's qualified to be Trump's defense secretary. Interesting article. I'm not going to go through it though. And then in Front Page Magazine, Hegseth's hearings show that Democrats still don't have a plan. The hearings were disastrous for Democrats, according to Daniel Greenfield. So it's interesting too. But I think Cuomo summed it up pretty well because they didn't really ask him questions about him being, any other policy other than women in combat, and these allegations against him from his past. So they didn't gain anything. Mullins did the closest to gain something for Republicans, I suppose. Couple odds and ends. Speaker Johnson orders flag at the U.S. Capitol fly at full staff for Trump's inauguration. They've been lowered to half staff for former President Jimmy Carter's death. I personally think this is a bad idea. I don't think you change protocol in the United States for inauguration of one president when it hasn't been done in the past, but whatever. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think generally when a president of the United States dies, the protocol is to have flags at half staff for 30 days, and it's not outside of the 30 days. And I also think that, and wouldn't be the first time, because I think, who was it? That might have been Herbert Hoover that died just before Nixon was inaugurated for the second time or the first time. I can't remember which one, but flags were at half staff. It has nothing to do with the inauguration. And so it's really a dumb thing to do. Yeah, in fact, there it is. Yes, this is a dumb fight. Who the fuck cares about the flags? Exactly. So anyway, no, not Johnson is still waiting for Guam to flip over. Different Johnson. Okay, no, that's Hank Johnson. That's the dumb one with the Guam, for Guam to flip. This is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Illegal insurrection. The garbage truck from the viral Trump campaign moment is going to be included in the inauguration parade. Yeah, that's awesome. That's hilarious. I think Trump should take his oath of office in an orange safety vest too, but that's just me. In human events, Jack Posobiec has talking about how a lot of federal employees are planning to resist Donald Trump when they come in. We'll probably go through this one a little more tomorrow. This is not good. This is not good. And then what was this? That's just the actual tweet from that. And then there's one other article that I featured here, Carolla versus Kimmel. So the two guys from the Man Show may be on a collision course when when it comes to the California wildfire blame game. Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel have modeled cross-party friendship under the most punishing of circumstances, aka the rise of Donald Trump's political career. The former Man Show hosts haven't fought each other in public, or according to Carolla, in private. they couldn't be more different on the political and cultural fronts. Carolla's libertarian approach to life and art contrasts with Kimmel's far-left worldview. They agree to disagree and don't bring it up. Carolla has told this reporter and others in the past, could this be a moment where their differences spill into the public arena? Carolla has spent days pummeling California Democrats over their incompetent handling of the raging wildfires, and he's got plenty of ammo. Then they go some tweets about Karen Bass. That's just the tip of the ace man's rage against Democratic incompetence. There's several videos there. And then there's Kimmel, the ABC late night host, returned to the air last night and targeted President-elect Donald Trump. First, he cried for those impacted by the unending wildfires. Later, he bashed Trump for politicizing the tragedy. Democrats politicize virtually every mass shooting, but never mind. And then we saw the clip yesterday. But then he said, one of the things he said that was a absolute flipping lie. Kimmel said, the fact that they chose to attack our firefighters, who apparently aren't white enough to be out there risking their lives on our behalf, it's disgusting, but that's not surprising. That is a bald-faced fucking lie. It's a bald-faced fucking lie. The last part is a lie. The conservatives have hammered California's based leaders for focusing on DEI-style policy at the expense of methods that prevent and or extinguish fires. The results speak for themselves. The two comedians have been personally impacted by the fires. Carolla had to flee his home, while Kimmel's show has been directly impacted by the blaze, not to mention friends and neighbors. Will Americans see eye to eye with Carolla and his California critiques? We're already seeing rumblings that a recall movement will target Governor Gavin Newsom again in the weeks to come. Or will they sidle up to Kimmel and blame the leader who literally had nothing to do with the tragedy? In fact, Trump has warned Californians of just such a disaster a mere month ago. He did that on Rogan. So it'll be interesting to see how these two, if they do come into a clash with each other, but we'll see what happens. In the links today, I have everything that we've done today, plus I will put the aggregator in because I didn't even open half of these. There's a ton of great articles in here. So if you're interested in what's happening over the last 24 hours, the JJ Sefton from the Ace of Spades blog has a bevy of information. Thanks again also to everyone who tweeted out the show today or oh, shoot, sorry about that. Let's see. There we go. Everyone who tweeted out the show or dropped a let's go. I didn't pull the link off the top of the chat yet. And I think that's everything. Yes, it is. So here come the links in the chat. One moment. Here are today's links. There we go. I'll also have it in the description. Thanks everybody for being here. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. My name is Dawg Knight, and I am out of here. Bye-bye. Click the button. Click the button! Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.